Hello and welcome to the Coaching Crowd podcast with me, Jo Wheatley, and my friend and co-host Zoe Hawkins.
Hi, everybody. We're here today to talk to you about coaching and travel. Jo and I both love coaching, as you well know. We also both love travel, and we know that lots of our clients and listeners, love travel, love coaching, and probably aspire to have a little bit of that laptop lifestyle that you hear talked about in the coaching industry. So we just thought we'd share with you some of our thoughts and experiences around bringing together these two passions, I suppose.
Yeah. Um, for me, like I do love to travel, and I love to travel in the context of coaching because getting to experience different cultures, being in different environments, and feeling like a different version of me, and sort of exploring in my mind who I could have been if I had, was grew up in and lived in a certain environment, just helps to kind of expand my mind, and it helps me to learn about different models of the world, views of the world, philosophies of the world. And that informs the way that I show up as a coach. It informs, for both of us, it informs the way that we have developed our business. We think of our business as a global business. People can access our services, coaching training, coaching CPD, the Leader is Coach content that we have, also one-to-one coaching with us through anywhere in the world. And actually, we could be anywhere in the world. However, we have children who are in school. And so at the moment, we aren't able to be, or you could look at it that we choose not to be mobile because we choose for our children to be in school. We could make a different choice. And in fact, I was going to take my children out of school for 5 months until COVID had other ideas. We bought a motorhome to go traveling with the children for 5 months, leaving just as the world closed down. And so we didn't get to do or have that experience with the children. And so we have done that in other shorter trips. So it also informed the term time only model of working that we have, because we both love to travel. And actually our coaching business, we have designed and got to a point where we are able to do that, so that our coaching and love of coaching enables the other passions that we have.
I think my relationship with travel is evolving. It's a little bit different. I've got three children. I consider them to still be young. As I record this, my eldest is 12, but certainly the phase of life that I've been in relation to travel is a bit more limited. It's been a bit more sort of hotel based than kind of trekking around the world. And a lot of that is to do with the dynamics of our family. So for me, travel has been about headspace, clarity. It's my creative time. It's the time that I get to sort of delve into books that have been stacking up on my bookshelf. It's the time that I get to take more space in my life to just sit quietly and walk. Whenever we've holidayed, what tends to happen is the kids thrash themselves in the hotel pool for about 6 hours a day. So by about 4 o'clock, my husband and my kids have had too much sun. They're exhausted. They go back to the apartment. They'll watch a film or something. And I'll be like, great. I don't want to do that. And I'll take a walk or I'll read my book or just, a bit more leisurely. And I have the same aspirations around travel, around the different cultures of the world. I think particularly many of you will know I'm sort of on a sort of spiritual discovery of myself. And there are definitely different sites around the world that I really want to visit. I want to indulge in, but that for me isn't going to be a family holiday. That for me is about my own sort of curiosity and my own desire to take things in a different way. And I think as my family gets older, I think that will change, and there will be opportunities to do some more of that cultural travel together, and have a different experience of that. But I love the fact that we have created a business where we do blend those two worlds. And you say, like, we haven't done a huge amount of work travel, but actually I think I feel that I've done a pretty significant amount, given that our lives are busy in the way that they are with children. I can remember facilitating ILM sessions from a villa in Lanzarote, and we've been on a working creative sort of working holidays to birth new courses into the world. There are things that we have done that this business has been able to create for us. And I think if you have a vision of having a flexible business, coaching's a great vehicle for being able to tap into that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel a huge sense of privilege to have been able to be in a position to have been able to create a business that allows that and to have the resources uh, to be able to travel. And I'm so driven to personally to give my children and for us to share as a family all the travel experiences that we have done. And I felt really driven to be able to take them to the other side of the world so they could understand how small the world is. And, when we think about climate change, I want them to understand, taking them to different places, like the impact that we are all one. And when I think about my approach to coaching and the world, it's all part of one for me. Like I don't see my work as over here as one thing and my family over here as totally separate. And I think part of that is because I work from home. I work from the office. The children have seen me working. They've been involved, in we've been doing our podcast launches or different launches. And, my oldest son choosing his options, has chosen business studies, economics, psychology. That's partly influenced, obviously, by what he is around and sees. And I think yes, we have tried to incorporate it into our business as well, going away when we're designing things and actually consciously thinking about the impact our environment has on us. So we know if we're trying to design something from our desks where we're doing 100 different activities for the business, it's not our most creative space. And also when it's hard, which it is, when we're creating things, it is hard work. And we need to think about how we resource ourselves. And obviously different people resource themselves in different ways. But for us, I think as coaches, we often have similar values around growth. And for me, growth is very much related to travel. I
I
love,
think there's
go on.
Sorry, Joe. I was just saying, I think there's something for me about coaching mastery and travel and culture. So, we've been in this industry a long time now. We've done a lot of CPD programs, and there's always more, So I know you're doing some programs at the moment. I've got my eye on a couple of programs, and I will always learn from what I do, but I can learn from the world, I think, more than I can learn from a specific CPD program. That definitely comes into my coaching and influences and provides me more tools and resources and perspectives. But I think it's that, my curiosity is more around Buddhism, Japanese culture. How did people used to live in Egypt millions of years ago? Like, actually, it's those influences that I'm really fascinated by now as I reach this sort of stage in my coaching journey and my coaching maturity. It's like the world has so much to teach me. Um, and I can go and self-discover that and receive it in a way that I'm in control of that experience. And no doubt that will then inform different programs in the future that we put out. But that's an element of travel that I think it's not pure CPD. I don't know how we'd ever get that past our accountant, right? Go visit the temples of Egypt and claim that that's CPD, but it genuinely is. I do think that those experiences can be so mind blowing, and that's really what coaching is about, isn't it? It's like blow the boundaries of your mind, like open yourself up to possibility, opportunity. What is out, like, what don't I know yet? Like, and the world can teach, I feel the world can teach me that in a way that I haven't been able to experience yet. So that's a kind of an evolution of my coaching that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I feel that too. I can read about something in a book, and in many ways, coaching and my development in that area actually points me to different travel opportunities or things that I want to do because I then want to go and experience that. And for me, like we oft share, coaches often share values around growth and, you know, the type of travel that we have done as a family is not that relaxing is more about discovery and growth and adventure. And we're often outside of our comfort zone. We are often in stretch. And I know my husband always, laughs, wherever we go, I'll end up in a conversation with a random stranger. Are they strangers? And he'll be like, how did you've just been chatting to that person for half an hour, but you don't speak the same language. And I was listening, and neither of you could understand each other, like in the words that we were using. But so we were using those words, but we were communicating with all of our non-verbals. And it's almost like I don't know, is there a soul connection? But, there's an intent and an intention and almost like an exchange of love, and an affirmation. And I can think of loads of examples of that. And I really enjoy that. And I think if we bring that back to coaching, I've learned those skills through coaching, or I've certainly have developed them through coaching, and I've developed a confidence to be able to do that. And when I have those experiences, it really highlights the way that we build rapport with others, which is fundamental to the work that we do as coaches. So I love the interconnection between, travel and coaching. And for me, that travel may also be driving down roads I've never driven down that are only 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
Discovering new things like that is also travel. Or I'm at the moment thinking about slightly longer term, but children and moving away. And my children, because they have had the opportunity to be able to travel, want to do that with their education. And as they start to think about where would you feel happy if you go to uni, where would you feel happy, and how will you know that that's somewhere that you can be for 3 years? We need to, and so I'm like, let's go and experience those places so that you can understand that. I mean,
Mm.
Zoe, we could talk about past lives and travel.
Maybe that's a stretch for the podcast right now, but yes, we could talk about that. Uh, I think as you were chatting then, it's less travel related, but I grew up in Plymouth. Well, you're still in Plymouth, aren't you? And I remember when I moved away, I obviously met my husband, moved away from Plymouth. I remember driving down like the A33 in, uh, I can't remember what county it is anyway, like A30, just off like the Reading area. And the words just escape me right now. And I remember seeing like Jane Eyre Country was the sign sort of on the side of the road. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, like, yeah, of course Jane Eyre was British. Like I knew the book, right? Because you study it in school and I'd read the book, but I'd never connected that this person grew up, you know, in England and was accessible, because Plymouth to me was such a small, tiny little slice, and I was so small-minded and so like I had no world experience at all. That even when I moved out of Plymouth and as a young adult with my husband, my mind was being blown just by seeing those experiences in our own country. And just this week, my daughter attended an International Women's Day. Just this week, my daughter attended an International Women's Day event with my husband, and it was all about sport and it was about women in sport. And she is certain she's going to be a Lions England rugby player when she grows up. And I have no doubt that she's going to achieve that goal because she's got a brilliant head on her shoulder for focus and goals. And I just thought, wow, what a difference. She's at this event, she's rubbing shoulders with Olympians, she's rubbing shoulders with elite sport people. She is being talked to about the importance of women's voices in sport. She's in the high performance center here in Bristol, which is like, she's able to look at the changing rooms and, talk one to one. People know her name because they've seen her on the side of her rugby pitch. So these elite sports people are approaching her. And they're like, oh, hey, Daisy, like, how are you doing? Totally different experience to what I had growing up. And I'm not dishonoring the experience I had as a kid. I was brilliantly happy. And, I love the life that I've created for myself. But it highlighted for me just that the importance of stepping out of your little world into a bigger world. And her world is all already bigger, but what will be the part which she gets to step out of her bigger world into something even greater. And I love that. I think travel is a real metaphor for your mind and how willing you are to go to different places in your mind and have different experiences and push through the different emotions that might be there as you do that. Both exhilarating and nerve-wracking, right?
And even as you open up a coaching conversation with the client, rather than how are you arriving today, what would you like to focus on? What are your reflections since last time? Maybe there's another question there, which is where would you like to travel to together today?
But it
You know?
forms part of one of our emotions coaching exercises, doesn't it? You know, we talk about in there, we provide a semi-structure for a conversation. We provide several, but this one particular one I'm thinking about is a semi-structure for how you have a conversation with somebody related to emotions when an emotion is coming up. And travel is one of the acronyms that we use. Like, how do you travel with that emotion? You know, where does that emotion want to travel to? How do you yeah, how do you take that with you on the travels that you want to go to in your life and in your mind? You know, so um yeah, I think travel does form part of the fabric of our work.
Yeah. And I can remember the moment when I was in Montenegro in Perast and I was I was on a trip, a family trip. It's actually for my 40th. Um, because I like to celebrate birthdays by going somewhere new. Unfortunate where my birthday falls in the year is usually in holidays for the children. But having that moment, being sat there thinking, I can imagine myself here coaching clients, and when we think about presence and what you bring and how you show up and how do you resource yourself, I think that was the essence of it for me. Is that kind of expansiveness. Like, how do you create an environment between you and your client that feels like the client can expand and grow in that space? Rather than we often, we often talk about a container, but actually that has a sense of it's got boundaries.
Mm,
Um, so, so yeah, I think the idea of where we travel to, and lots of people that trainers, coaches have coaching as part of an exit strategy, it is forms part of a new type of life that they want to design and achieve. And for a lot of people, that has flexibility within it. Or, that coaching is a way or a vehicle to enable them to achieve or complement other goals that they have in their life.
mm.
Um, so so are you listening thinking, oh my goodness, yes, I'd love to be running my coaching business, traveling the world, and I could do that because of my circumstances, or I really like the metaphor of travel, when we think about coaching and the work that we do with clients, and or how has my experiences of travel or not traveling informed, my experiences, my beliefs, and my values and in life and the goals that I set for myself. And then also
Yeah.
thinking about, the impact we have on the environment. So, how we travel as well is obviously something that we need to be mindful of.
Yeah, and I think you said before we recognize we are talking from a very privileged position and not everybody in the world has these opportunities. But I think using that metaphor around, you know, what does travel need to look like and feel like and be like for you based on, you know, what is available to you? Maybe it's traveling in your mind, like I remember also, you know, sitting back and just dreaming, you know, like dreaming about what's possible. And I think where you're able to tap into that dream state and that deep imagination and possibility, like that can generate creativity in you as well around what is possible for you. So we recognize the privilege, we recognize the challenges with the climate, and you know, climate is actually something else. I think we'll talk about on the podcast at some point the big movements around coaching and climate. That could be something that we bring. So yeah, I think that's probably a good old chin wag for today. Joe, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I think that that's a good place for us to stop. So if you're thinking, I don't want to delay anymore, I actually want to start to bring, vision I have to reality, and I like the idea of combining coaching with travel, then take a look at mycoachingcourse.com to help you with that first step to get qualified as a coach.